Things between James Cook and the Buffalo Bills, well, it does not appear that it is going very well, considering James Cook put his house on the market. Running back tied for the most rushing touchdowns last season, looking for a new deal. He already skipped out on OTAs and now may miss mandatory minicamp. Taking a look at the highest paid DBs, James Cook, do you know where he is on that list? He's like 48th or something. He wants to be paid more. Said to make $5.3 million this season. Let's welcome in Leger Douzable, Kyle Long here. Look, like if I'm playing well, if I'm putting up those numbers, I want to get paid. We talked to Pete Briscoe earlier on, who said, he'll give in, he'll start showing up. But Leger, I mean, it looks like we're at a standstill right now.
It's always funny how Pete just assumes every player is going to show up. He said the same thing with Trey Hendrickson. And I think we're in a different era where players know their power. And when you look at James Cook, this offense has become run-centric since offensive coordinator Joe Brady took over a year and a half ago. And it was to limit the turnovers that Josh Allen was having. You look at it last year, Amanda and Kyle, going back to 2019, Josh Allen had his fewest pass attempts going back to his second year in the league because they've leaned on the run game. And I know people will say, what's the running back position? You can put anybody in there and they can go to do work. When you look at what James Cook has done, he's averaged over 5 yards a carry over his first 3 years in the NFL. Kyle, he had 16 rushing touchdowns. And you want to know why that number is so astronomical? Because when they get into the low red zone, they use Josh Allen and that big body at 6'5", 260 pounds. A lot of like Jalen Hurts and the Eagles use him in the Philadelphia Eagles offense. So James Cook, and you see it right there, most touchdowns in the season when you talk about regular season and postseason in Bills history, he was playing at an elite level. His slashing ability, especially in that zone running scheme with that offensive line, makes him a difference maker in this offense. Multiple runs of over 40 yards. When he gets to the second level, Kyle, it is a home run threat touchdown. So if you're the Buffalo Bills, you definitely want to work this out because this is not like the Stephon Diggs scenario where you can go to the run game. James Cook is a big part of the run game. So they let Stephon Diggs go and they went receiver by committee because they knew they were going to lean on the run game in the offensive line. You need your bell cow back in the backfield if they have those aberrations of winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, Leger, I absolutely agree with you. When I look at James Cook, and you were enamoring about the things that he does at the second level and having these big explosive runs, 5 yards per carry is unbelievable. I got to play in that offense in the way that they run the football under Aaron Kromer's tutelage, and a back with great vision is really a priceless commodity. James Cook has that kind of vision. It's the reason that he sets himself up for such great plays. And to Leger's point, this offense is predicated on running the football. And that was a great word, astronomical. 19 touchdowns, unbelievable for James Cook.
Let me ask you guys this. Could we put back up the graphic of the highest paid DBs? Because he had said on a podcast earlier, or DBs, sorry, running backs, that he wanted to be paid about $15 million a year. You see Derrick Henry there with that number. Obviously, Saquon, Christian McCaffrey are making higher than him. Do you think that's a reasonable price for him to be asking from the Bills? I guess, Kyle, we'll start with you.
I just believe...
Or Leger, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right, I was going to say, Amanda, Jonathan Taylor's making under 15. So if you're the Buffalo Bills, you're hard-pressed to essentially give James Cook that when you look at Jonathan Taylor and what he's been able to do over the last couple of years, constantly being a top 4 running back in regards to rush yards per season. So I would say he's probably in that range between 4 and 5, where you look at Alvin Kamara and Jonathan Taylor. And the thing about James Cook, he's only 25 years old. When you look at this list, a lot of these running backs are upwards of 28 and up. We saw Derrick Henry get an extension. He's in his 30s. I believe Saquon's 28. Same thing with Christian McCaffrey. He's 28, 29. So if you're James Cook, you're young. You know the market is trending upwards because Saquon just signed that deal at 20 per year just this last offseason after winning a Super Bowl. And you're saying, well, what I provide, my services for the Buffalo Bills, we're a run-centric team. I know I'm an explosive back. And a lot of things on this offense are predicated off of what I do. I want to be paid like a top 5 back. So I say in between that 4 and 5 range between Jonathan Taylor and also Alvin Kamara, they should be able to get something done.
I'll play devil's advocate here, Leger, and I'll say this. If you look at Aaron Kromer and all of his stops and all of his teams and all of his offensive lines, they all had really good running backs. Now, I know James Cook might be the most proficient one out of all of them, but if I'm upstairs in Buffalo, I'm thinking about that. And then I'm going to probably throw him the Brock Purdy deal, seventh in terms of earnings, somewhere between 5 and 7 there. I don't want him in the top 5, but I'll get him at 6 or 7 in terms of earning. And I feel like everybody can be comfortable with that number.
If he is a holdout, Kyle, how do you feel about this running back room?
Well, I think first and foremost, I disagree with Leger, and I'm in agreement with Pete. He's going to show up. You know, your window as a football player, your opportunity for success for Super Bowls only comes so often. And I think that even though he's a very young guy, he's got football in his family, he understands the opportunity at hand here. I think the Bills will have their running back number 1 come week number 1.
I think the Bills would be foolish not to pay him. And I like their running back room. Todd Johnson is a guy I've liked even when he was with the New York Jets. Josh Allen has come out and said he's probably the best third down back in football. Sugar Ray Davis, you see his name right there. You got to think about this, Kyle. He had over 100 carries and averaged less than 4 yards a carry. So when you talk about what James Cook provides to this offense, right, a guy that's going to constantly get you over 5 yards a carry, a guy with back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, a guy, we saw it, man, the 19 touchdowns when you talk about the regular season and postseason. I think he might hold out because we've seen it, whether it's Hassan Reddick, whether it's Trey Hendrickson. These players know what they're worth, and they're willing to take it all the way to potentially missing out on some money if they feel like they're not getting paid what they're justly due. So I could see James Cook holding out all the way through training camp. My thing is, what is the purpose of just holding out in minicamp? If you're going to take it there, take it all the way there. When you're
Do
in
it
the contract,
whole way.
the only thing you can do, the only leverage you can do as a player is withhold your service. You know that, Kyle. The only thing when you're under contract you can do as a player is withhold your service. That's the only leverage you have. So
just go
I can
missing.
see James Cook
Just
taking
go
this in the training
missing.
camp.
That's how you make people make a move, Leger. You just go missing. You shut your phone off. You tell your agent, don't you just, take my phone calls. Don't even contact me.
Take a page from Aaron Rodgers, just go hide under a rock or wherever the hell he was. I will say, Leger, I'm on the side of you because I found this quote from James Cook. He said, I feel like we're deserving of it. Why not? We work all our life to get paid. Feed me the big bucks. And Brandon B., their GM, saying we would love to have him here long term. Doesn't sound like I want more. I want more if I'm a player. Let's move on to the rest of the Bills here because we're taking a look. We're doing a Bills breakdown. Biggest off-season losses. Both of you guys are on either side of the ball. Kyle, we'll start with you.
Well, you know what? I'm going to get made fun of for this because he only had about 20 catches last year. But I'm going to say Amari Cooper. And I'm going to say Amari Cooper because of this. We don't quite know if a guy like Keon Coleman is going to step up and make the next step to be the guy. I mean, Khalil Shakir did a great job in this offense. You know that you're always going to have success relative to the rest of the league because you've got Josh Allen and you've got that running game that Leger lauded, and you've got the offensive line that I talked about. But without Amari Cooper, you're without a guy who's got a ton of experience in the receiver position, a ton of knowledge, third down savvy type guy, although he wasn't himself last year. I'd be wrong if I didn't say they're not going to be as good without him.
Yeah, Kyle, I'm going to go on the opposite side like Amanda alluded to, and I'm going to go with a savvy vet also in Rasul Douglas. He was a perfect fit for this Sean McDermott defense, being a zone-covered corner, being able to keep his back to the quarterback and play with vision and go intercept the football. Now, he did miss a couple of games, and that was the big issue for that secondary last year. The guy that came in for him, opposite of Christian Benford, was picked on, whether it was Kyer Elam or other corners, and that was the issue that they had on this team. He was a consummate pro. When they traded for him for Green Bay, he literally elevated this secondary. So I think having a savvy vet, and he's only 30 years old, actually surprised he still hasn't signed with anybody, still a free agent, could he potentially get signed in camp and come back to the Buffalo Bills? He's a savvy vet that I think they will truly miss.
Okay, so that's one option that he could potentially come back. What about Jair Alexander? Leger, I mean, he's still a free agent. He's out there. Would you bring him in?
I think they won't do that, and this is kind of alluding to the addition on my part that I thought was the biggest for the Bills. Maxwell Harrison is a guy that they took in the first round. So, Kyle, you know this, anytime you take somebody in the first round, you're going to give them every opportunity to be the guy. He was a guy that ran a sub 340 at 4.28. He's a guy that can play man, loves to mix it up in man. He's a feisty corner, loves to tackle, but also has some good zone instincts as well. We saw that on a few pick sixes at the University of Kentucky. So I just don't see the Bills making that move because they just paid Christian Benford. They drafted a guy in the first round. And let's not forget, they also brought a Wiley vet back to the team, Tre'Davious White, who comes back after being with the Rams in Baltimore last year. So I don't see Jair Alexander signing with them.
Yeah, plenty of teams that probably want Jair Alexander. I think they're all set a crowded room in Buffalo, to what Leger was talking about.
Let me go to this. So, Leger, you mentioned it. We've gone from the biggest losses to the Bills. We're going to go to the biggest additions. And, Leger, you already mentioned it. Maxwell Harrison took him in the first round at number 31. Why is he such an important piece for this Bills team?
It goes back to what I was saying about when Rasul Douglas got hurt last year, man. That corner opposite of Christian Benford was the guy that was getting targeted, whether it was Kaiir Elam or other corners that were in that room. We saw Kaiir Elam get benched a few times because he struggled mightily. Taron Johnson is their slot corner. He's one of the best slot corners in all of football. So Maxwell Harrison, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to come in and be the guy because teams aren't going to target Christian Benford. He played at a Pro Bowl type level, which is why he got rewarded a contract this offseason. So Maxwell Harrison, rookie cornerback, has a lot of bravado. He was a guy that talked to our Didi Kwikubala at the Combine and told everybody to get your popcorn ready because he was going to go out there and blaze a 40, and he ran a 4.28. Again, good instincts in zone coverage. Also, really likes to mix it up in man and will tackle people in the run game. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on Maxwell Harrison to be a really good corner opposite of Christian Benford.
Yeah, for me, Leger, I think the biggest addition is going to be the influx of talent to that defensive line room. Obviously, you bring in a guy like Joey Bosa. You're lacking in the pass rush department. You had Von Miller in the building. You weren't able to get the output that you wanted. So obviously, it was a point of emphasis for this group to get some more guys at the line of scrimmage. Michael Hoyt is going to be my biggest addition. He's a guy that can play a number of positions, inside, outside, second level. He can be moved around a number of ways. And if you're not going to have the best players, you better have a number of guys who can do it at a pretty high level at a number of different spots. They got that. Larry Ogunjobi, another name that's going to be added into that room. And 6-game suspension for Ogunjobi and for Michael Hoyt. But this team isn't concerned about the regular season. We're going to talk about the record later. They're concerned about playoff wins, an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. And with these guys, they'll be on the roster and ready to play come playoff time, obviously.
And Kyle, I'm so glad you brought that up, right? Because this was a move for the playoffs. I think the same thing with Joey Bosa. There's some concerns with him staying healthy, and he had the foot injury, and I believe was already out for the rest of minicamp and won't be back until training camp. But Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi, you talked about those guys. They're going to miss the first 6 games. So could there be a struggle when it comes to pass rush? And that's why I think Maxwell Harrison is going to have to show up big, because there's going to be times where there's going to be a struggle up front to get after the quarterback just because they're not going to have the guys right away because 2 of their free agent signings are suspended for 6 games this year. So I love Michael Hoyt. He's a guy that can play outside, inside, can play outside linebacker. It'll be interesting as he makes his transition to a 4-3 because he played in the 3-4. Do they just play him at end? Do they move him around and maybe let him rush inside on 3rd down? But the thing is, we won't even see him, Kyle, to the 7th game of the season.
So let's do schedule prediction. Good thing for Bills Mafia fans, you're going to be good. We know you're going to be good. You got a great team. You've been good for a while. They went 13-4 last season, lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Both of you, though, slight step back, if we can call it, not quite as many wins. Kyle, we'll start with you because your number is just 1 lower than Leger's. What's your schedule prediction for the Buffalo Bills for the 2025 season?
You know, I've got the Bills going 11-6 this coming football season. It's going to start off with a really tough game against the Ravens. And then they've got a stretch of a lot of winnable games. This team's going to win a lot of football games. It could easily be where Leger's talking about, though.
Yeah, Kyle, I just went one win above you. I went 12-5. This is a team, to your point earlier, Kyle, it's not about the regular season. Can they get over the hump? Can they get past the Kansas City Chiefs and make it to the Super Bowl and finally win it for Buffalo Bills fans, because that's what they've been yearning for. Thought they had an opportunity last year in the AFC Championship game, couldn't get it done versus the Chiefs. I do have them winning the division. And when you look at it, the AFC East right now on paper, maybe one of the easier divisions in football when you talk about the Bills potentially winning that division. They also play the NFC South as well, which isn't a gauntlet as well when you talk about the Saints, the Falcons. The Buccaneers are a really good team as well, but that's one of the divisions that aren't as strong as some of the other divisions. You see games versus the Browns, so I think the Bills will be good again, 12-5, but again, it's not about the regular season with this team, it's about the postseason.
Your losses are interesting. So let me ask you this, Leger, because look, it is about the postseason. They can't get over the hump. They haven't been able to get over the hump. Do you have faith that they can? I mean, you have the Chiefs, though. You know, would you say the Chiefs are going to win? Did you have them winning the AFC again?
No, I don't have the Chiefs. I have the Ravens winning the AFC this year.
So still not the Bills.
I think the Bills will be there again in discussion when you talk about getting to the divisional round, maybe getting to the AFC Championship. My biggest concern is what me and Kyle talked about earlier, the pass rush, because I thought that's what plagued them last year. And you talk about Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi missing the first 6 games, but then also Joey Bosa, he has not been healthy, and he's been on grass. And for people that don't know, Kyle, grass is way more forgiving than that tough turf in Buffalo. I played in it. I was on the Buffalo Bills. When it gets November, that becomes asphalt, literally. So you wonder, with his foot injury, is he going to be able to hold up for a 17-game season throughout the playoffs? Because that's one of the big advantages for Buffalo is that cold weather. When that ground becomes tough, the Bills just know how to play on it, and other teams don't.
You just made my knee hurt thinking about that with already an injury here going down to play in that cold weather. Guys, we appreciate it, obviously. I don't touch the field unless I'm reporting on it. Pushing the pile with those guys. They just finished recording a podcast. You can watch it now by scanning that QR code.